the meeting information. Do you want to say something, Mr. Williams?
Just on both of these items, typically in the past, at least the recent past, the council has mostly handled either type 1 seeker actions or type 2s. This is an unlisted action, so it's sort of an intermediary level of review excuse me, between those two. We don't have to go through the whole involved agency process, so we don't have to send out notices to other potentially involved agencies. But the council, by passing this resolution, is still saying that it took a hard look at the environmental assessment form that was provided and is declaring a negative environmental impact. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
And if you look, it's the two PDFs or sets of PDFs that were attached to the supporting legislation that went out on the 22nd, I believe. But if you look at the reviews, you'll see that a lot went into the actual assessment of these sites. There's actual scientific information that they're discussing about how they will be going in. And for instance, I believe in Albany West, they're going to be removing asbestos, and that should have a public health benefit. So factors like that led to the negative declaration that you'll be voting on.
Right. Yeah, and I believe that info was in like 3 packets for each site, so there was a lot of information there. So yeah, it's it for the agenda. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Holy.
Yeah, thank you, Harry. The new chief, Cox, was sworn in today, and I did speak to him. Officially, doesn't have to come before the council, but he would like to come before the council. So we're going to try to get him in on a caucus. To come in, just say hello, and what he's planning to do, and see what type of chief he's going to be. And one of the things he kept saying during when he was speaking was that he wanted to have partners. Partners in the council, partners in the community, partners, in the mayor's office, and with the police. So it'll be interesting to see what his ideas are.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson.
Just to follow that up, for me personally, it's a breath of fresh air to have someone. Just when you listen to him, he takes you in a direction. It's just not the same old conversation. Appreciate Chief Hawkins for his time spent here, but we're looking for solutions. I know in the second ward we want some action behind the words, and since I've been dealing with Chief Cox, there's always been a lot of action behind his words, and I was excited about what's to come, and it's for me personally, a breath of fresh air.
Mr. President?
Just for the council to think about, reference to Mr. Hoey's, that he doesn't have to come in front of the council because he's acting an interim title, and the council should think about that in the future. Future mayor could put that title on somebody indefinitely. So it's just not about, we understand the mayor's not running them, but the council should be thinking that over. Because I don't think it speaks to the law on that. So future mayor could just say, they're interim, and what does that mean? They could be 4 years interim or acting. So the council should be looking at that closely, so that in the future mayor doesn't just appoint somebody active or interim for an indefinite amount of time.
I would recommend that if the council meets with the new chief and would approve him, then we should just pass a resolution approving him to set the issue aside and preserve our claim on the council's power in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Iceland. Okay. Yeah, sounds like a plan. So, Mr. President, For Mr. Anani's ordinance, I'm gonna have, Mr. Ballerin do it, because he's not here, so. And there was something else that, our annual party that we have at the last, we'll have that at our next meeting. We can talk about offline where we're gonna do it. Remember last year, we did it at a member's home because the place was closed, so that, the information on what we decide to do is to come, which we'll probably do it at a member's house, but we'll see. So that, your house, of course. So that's it for the agenda until we start. So just got a couple minutes.
It is now 7 p.m., Monday, December 2nd, 2024. Call to order Albany Common Council meeting. Can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams. Anani. Ballerin.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Farrell. Flynn.
Here.
Frederick. Hoy.
Here.
Johnson.
Present.
Keegan. Here. Kimbrough.
Here.
Love. Robinson. Romero. Zamer. Here. 9 present.
Thank you. So would you please rise with me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance, and after that, a moment of silence. Thank you. Now we move on to our public comment period. Public comment period, you have 5 minutes to speak upon any issue or subject matter you wish to speak upon. When you come to the desk, please state your name and address for the record. Once the light turns yellow, you have 1 minute remaining, and once it turns red, please conclude your remarks. Public comment period, no council members can answer any of your questions or statements at that time. It is for you to speak, and council members to listen. some council members, if they choose to do so, will remark on your comments at a later portion in the agenda. With that being said, can the clerk please call the first speaker?
Bruce Mastrovich.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Nestorovich. I live at 152 Washington Avenue, and I'm here to talk about the ADU ordinance. Pretty excited to see this. A couple weeks ago, I was watching the planning and development meeting online, and I think it's really good to add some variety to our housing stock. I think you look at like California and the West Coast, and these are getting built at pretty exciting rates. Could be a good way to really open up some housing options for people. I know, some people they like the idea, like the tiny home, where they don't need that much space, but maybe they still don't want to share a wall with the neighbors. So I think it gives a good variety for people who are looking for something a little different. I'd like to see this maybe a little bit more permissive than it's worded right now. If you look at, I think the AARP, the American Association of Retired People, has some really good write-ups on ways to actually get these built and make it easier for homeowners to get into this. Just kind of can be a really complicated process to understand. So just having kind of the simplest ordinance, I think, is really the best way to encourage more people to participate. A few recommendations I'd have. I saw that this is limited to single-family detached dwellings, and I can kind of get the reasoning of not wanting to stick this behind a wall of like row homes where there's no access to the street, but I think if you have a duplex on a large enough property, I don't see any reason why you couldn't build one in the backyard there. So I'd like to see that kind of, maybe you keep the detached part, but I don't know that it necessarily needs to be limited to single-family homes. I also noticed there's an owner occupancy requirement, which a lot of places like California have gotten rid of recently, and that's been a big part of spurring the growth. I can kind of understand wanting to do something nice for homeowners, but I think the bigger goal is to build more housing, and if we open this up to more properties, I think that lets builders and lenders kind of get some experience with these projects. And honestly, if you open up to like rental properties as well, then yeah, you got builders and lenders that can walk homeowners through the process when they go to do it on their own. But really, I'm excited to see this legislation introduced, and I'm hoping you guys move forward with it kind of with the strongest version possible. Thanks.
Thank you. Can the clerk call next speaker?
Jennifer Thayer.
My name is Jennifer Thayer. I live at 185 Homestead Avenue in Albany. Jesus is walking through heaven, and he comes across a group of people who are gambling and smoking and drinking. He's flummoxed. He turns and he walks back over to where St. Peter is, and he says, "I thought we weren't allowing this to happen here." And St. Peter said, I'm doing what I can, but it's your mom. He says, "My mom?" "Yeah, she's letting him in the back door." I am a Housing First advocate. I see Mother Mary as the original Housing First advocate. I'm currently sheltering 2 formerly homeless men in my house, one in my basement, one in my guest room. One of these is a honorably discharged USN veteran who is on the streets of Albany for 10 years. It is a disgrace. The second man, having been formerly incarcerated, is facing all the issues you would have. My knowledge of the situation of homelessness in Albany is that if you are a single man, it is virtually impossible for you to get into any of the housing programs. Many of the lists are 100 people long. So one of my, I call them my husbands. One of my husbands has been living with me since February, the second one since April. I'm kind of captivated with the idea that having a foster program for homeless people might actually be an interesting and innovative way to start addressing the homeless problem here in Albany. In the meantime, I'm kind of captivated by the idea of the ADU situation through the Homes and Urban Renewal program, where, as I understand it, there are grants and low-interest loans available to homeowners. I went to sign up for one of those, and because I'm in Albany County, I guess that's not available to me. So, needless to say, I do see the ADU program as something that could really, together with maybe some other incentives for homeowners, we could really start addressing the homelessness problem in Albany, because it's not going away, as you all know. And so I think thinking a little bit more creatively about this could be interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. And clerk, it's on next speaker.
Tom Ellis.
Tom Ellis, North Pine Ave in Albany. I hope you all had a nice Thanksgiving. I'm going to skip my comments about fluoride because there's so few of you here. But I would like to compliment the city and the city council for your efforts at painting the crosswalks in Albany. I see more speed humps are going on State Street coming down here tonight. I would note that on Western Avenue between Manning Boulevard and Breveter, nearly all of the crosswalks are unpainted. And even at Western and Breveter, where there's a Catholic school and a church, the crosswalks across Western Avenue are practically invisible. I think that maybe the city should have a priority of requiring that crosswalks within a certain number of feet of a school be painted every 2 years, at least, because the paint wears off pretty quick. I noticed that there's a stop sign on the corner of Cortlandt and Allen Street in Albany, in both directions on Allen. That's really good. About 10 years ago, I nearly had a collision there when some a-hole passed me on the left as I was about to make a left turn. And finally, some of the streets in Albany are 4-lane streets, and the dashed lines between the lanes going in either direction are very poorly painted. So people driving in these, especially at night or at night when it's raining, it can be very hard to know where the edge of where the 2 lanes begin and end. So those should be a priority. So thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the next speaker.
Last speaker, Lane Garrett.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Lane Garrett. I live at 101 Winnie Street. I primarily wanted to basically echo what the other speakers had said, Mr. Mastorovich and the woman over my shoulder here. Homelessness does seem to be quite a big problem in Albany, and I wanted to speak in support of the ADU bill. I also wanted to mention that there is apparently, and reference was made to this earlier, but there is apparently a program called the +1 ADU program that is associated with allowing ADUs and providing grants and that sort of thing. So I won't take up the whole 5 minutes, but I just wanted to speak in support of that, and I hope that you all will consider some more diverse and aggressive housing solutions to the problems in Albany. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else signed up for tonight's public comment period, so that deemed public comment period closed at this time. We'll move on to approval of minutes from previous meeting. Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer the November 18th of 2024 meeting minutes for approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. There's no consideration of local laws today. So moving on to reports of standing committees. Any? I don't think we do have any. Okay, moving right along. Consideration of ordinances. Starting with Mr. Ballard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I act that ordinance 68-121-24 be introduced.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the ordinance? Go for it, Dad.
An ordinance amending Chapter 375 Unified Sustainable Development Ordinance of the Code of the City of Albany in relation to permitting accessory dwelling units.
Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you, Mr. President. That will be referral to Council's Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Kimbrough. And Mr. Kimbrough?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. Rest of the ordinances on the agenda are held.
Thank you. Moving on to resolutions introduced. Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Councilmember Farrell, I notice Resolution 131, 121, 24R, and ask for its introduction.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council confirming the appointment of Robert McGee as Corporation Counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you, Mr. President. It will be referred to Council's Law Committee.
Thank you. Mr. Kimbrough?
Thank you. On behalf of Ms. Frederick, I notice Resolution 132, 121, 24R, and ask for its introduction and passage.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council authorizing the levy upon properties in the City of Albany for unpaid water and sewer charges.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Adams. Vallerin.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Flynn.
Yes.
Hoyt.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Kimbrough.
Yes.
Romero. Zamer. Yes. 9 yeses.
Thank you. Resolution passes. Continuing on, Mr. Kimbrough?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I notice Resolution 133, 121, 24R, and ask for its introduction and passage.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council authorizing the levy upon properties in the City of Albany for unpaid charges of the Department of Fire and Emergency Services, Department of Building and Regulatory Compliance, and the Department of General Services.
Any discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Vallerin.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Flynn. Hoyt.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Keegan.
Yes.
Kimbrough.
Yes.
Romero. Zamer. Yes. 9 yeses.
Resolution passes. Continuing on with resolutions introduced, Mr. Kimbrough.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I notice Resolution 134, 121, 24R, and ask for its introduction.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council authorizing the levy of 2025 Business Improvement District charges and authorizing the treasurer to place such charges on the 2025 city tax bills.
Thank you, and that's just a hold, right, Mr.?
That's correct.
Thank you. Moving on, Ms. Romero or Mr. Robinson.
I notice Resolution 135, 121, 24R, and ask for its introduction and passage.
Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council declaring the Albany West Recreation Center project to be to be an unlisted action and issuing a negative declaration of environmental impact.
Discussion on this resolution. Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Valorem,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Hoy,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Kimbrough,
Yes.
Romero,
Yes.
Zamer,
Yes.
9 yeses.
Resolution passes. And Mr. Kimbrough.
Thank you, Mr. President. I notice resolution 136-121-24R and ask for its intro and passage.
Thank you. Can the clerk please read the resolution?
A resolution of the Common Council declaring the Hoffman Recreation Center project to be an unlisted action and issuing a negative declaration of environmental impact.
Discussion on this resolution. Seeing none, can the clerk please call the roll?
Valorem,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Hoy,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Keegan,
Yes.
Kimbrough,
Yes.
Romero,
Yes.
Zamer,
Yes.
9 yes.
Thank you. Resolution passes. Mr. Kimbrough.
Thank you, Mr. President. The rest of the resolutions on the agenda are held.
Thank you. Is there any miscellaneous unfinished business? Mr. Ballerin?
Thank you. I'll be quick. I want to thank the members of the public for coming out and speaking today. I think it's always good for us to have these conversations. I do want to make sure people know that this council and the city has been working diligently on trying to find answers to the housing issues and the crisis that we're facing. I mean, we all see that. This body just put $125,000 in the budget to try to see how we can maximize those dollars to try to address some of these issues. There's a lot of ideas out there of how we can possibly use those fundings, including helping those who have been displaced because of properties being considered unfit to live in, as well as trying to find additional funding for people who are getting evicted from their housing. And I look forward to continue to work with my colleagues and the administration on how we can address this issue and how we can maximize those dollars in many different ways to benefit our residents. So I want to make sure that the public is aware of that there has been a lot of work by this body, by this administration, to try to address this issue. It's not an easy issue by no means, but it is something that is being worked on. I'm also going to, just on a personal note, say I think Jesus would be okay with people playing cards and smoking cigars and having some wine. I mean, Jesus did hang out with some of the most unscrupulous people of his times, including the worst of the worst, tax collectors. So I think he'd be okay with people having a couple of cigarettes. But thank you again for coming out today and speaking your mind.
Thank you. Mr. Kimbrough? Oh, it's Zamer.
Thank you. Just briefly, I just wanted to thank some of the public comment as well. Very well thought out argument, interest and arguments in the accessory dwelling. And as far as the pedestrian and traffic safety measures that we've been working on, all of us closely with city engineering to get speed humps where they most are needed and stop signs. So thanks for recognizing that. As far as Western Avenue is concerned, which was just recently paved, and the crosswalk should be coming soon, but I'll make sure to follow up with city engineering. So thanks for bringing that to our attention again.
Thank you, Ms. Zamer. Mr. Kimbrough?
Motion to adjourn?
All those in favor? Opposed? Meeting adjourned.